Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Week 6 Burg Sports Game Day. I'm Gavin Race, joined with
David Brown. How you doing today, Gavin?
I'm doing great. Week 6 here, we got Wheelersburg. They'll be heading to Minford tonight, another away game. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about the craziness of last week. We might have some highlights here coming up. I'm not sure if we can get them in there, but if they will, they'll pop up now. Yeah, it was a tough game for Wheelersburg last week. It was just something where came down to that last second, and Braxton put everything he had into that football. I mean, he said afterward he got a little bit under it, but man, that was closer than I've ever seen.
And just the fact that it was almost 55 yards, if I'm not mistaken.
51. The first one was 56,
right,
and he missed it left. The second one, he missed it millimeters
6 inches, yeah.
I mean, he was right there, and Braxton, it was one heck of a kick. We'll catch up with him later. That'll be coming up next. We'll be talking with him about the importance of special teams. Make sure you stick around for that.
One thing I would like to say, I was watching football Saturday and Sunday, and I didn't see very many field goals over 45 yards.
Yeah,
I saw maybe one, and it was an NFL team.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see very many kickers get that. Not only did he kick it that far, he hit the dead center of the crossbar, which you could see it just popped straight back up. And
yeah,
that kick goes through, and he's the hero, and we knock off Jackson, but go to overtime, and it's tough. I mean, going in there, you didn't really want to give Jackson the football back, and Coach Woodward made the play of going 4-2 and
right,
cost the game. Wheelersburg ended up losing. I mean, it was a game where Wheelersburg wanted to finish them off there, and it was tough. I mean, maybe something else could have happened, but
great game efforts from both teams. Beautiful game.
Absolutely. Wheelersburg, great effort from Ethan Glover running the football. He's the best runner Wheelersburg had all game. Eli Jones got his first real reps of the season at the quarterback position. He was playing really well running out of the backfield. But the defense stepped up better than I've ever seen. I mean, they had a great week last week against Pikeville as well. Last week against Jackson, they came out and played better than they had all season. Drew Holsinger, prayers up to him. I know he's been going through a tough time recently. But he played one of the better games I've seen on the defensive side of the ball. He was playing awesome at that D tackle position. And Josh Boggs and Ethan Glover, Jake Darling finishing off that front four. They played an awesome game down in the trenches against a really big Jackson team.
And what's great about our defensive line is that it's, for the majority of it, it's young.
Yes. And Eli Swartz had the huge interception that set up Ethan Glover's second touchdown of the game. Eli's pick could have been a pick six, but he just fell a couple inches short. So Wheelersburg Day was a hard-fought game, and Jackson was able to come away with it in the end. A great game played by them. Caden Wolford was their player that really put it away, number 8 for them. He played an awesome game, and it was just a tough time for Wheelersburg trying to contain that offense, and eventually they broke through and got a couple scores.
Right, hats off to both teams. It was a phenomenal game.
Yes, but let's get into this week. Something I'm looking forward to is how I think the Wheelersburg offense will play pretty well tonight. Even though they are on grass, I will say that. I think the Burg defense versus the Minford offense is a favorable matchup for Wheelersburg.
Right.
I'm noticing tonight, I don't think Drew Holsinger is going to be available. Obviously, like I said, he's been going through a little bit of a tough time. But up front, we're going to be seeing guys like Ethan Glover, Jake Darling, and Josh Boggs. They've been playing well as that front three all season. But the heart and soul of this Wheelersburg team is those linebackers, and it has been all season. Landon Hutchinson, Eli Swords, Carson Williams, and Hunter Thomas. Just talk a little bit about how well they've played all year.
every time they get a chance to find a tackle or find the ball, they're on it. They're like magnets almost to the ball, to the runner, to the wide receiver, just wherever the ball is. Their eyes follow the quarterback's eyes, something that's extremely hard to do, and they just play really well.
Yeah, two interceptions coming from those linebackers. Like I said, Eli had one last week. He played an awesome game. I feel like he's going to come out with a fire as one of the Pirate captains tonight. Landon Hutchinson got the other one against Pikeville early on in the game, and Wheelersburg scored off both those drives. So I think turnovers are going to be huge as well. I mean, fumbles have been an issue the last couple weeks, and it really hurt Wheelersburg against Jackson because scoop and score. If that doesn't happen, Wheelersburg might win the game, but I feel like Wheelersburg needs to not only limit turnovers, but they need to force turnovers, and it's going to be a lot on stopping the Memphis running back, Jeffrey Pica.
Right, and it's going to be important, like you said, on grass. Wheelersburg, I noticed during our cross-country practices, you see the whole team after they finish warm-ups and turf practice, they'll spend another hour and a half to 2 hours on the practice field up by the track on the grass, really getting in the mindset for this Memphis game. And you mentioned Jeffrey Pica. Memphis a run-first offense, and he's their weapon.
Yeah. And something tonight that a lot of people are going to look forward to as well is Wheelersburg's offense. It's been kind of rough the last 2 weeks. They've been trying to get something going, and really the only source of offense they've had has been inside of Ethan Glover, and he's played really well in these games, trying to get any yardage that he can. Coming off that fullback position, that super eye look. But I feel like he's poised for another great week, but I think Eli Sword just ready to break out and have an awesome game today, offensively and defensively. But before we get into what we got coming up next, which is a interview with Braxton Salmons down at the field, let's talk a little bit about what we got going on in other sports.
So we'll start with you with soccer.
Yeah, last night we played against Waverly. Huge win for us. Another SFC2 win, 5-1.
Put them away.
Yeah, we showed up last night. First of all, I want to say prayers up to the goalkeeper for Waverly. It wasn't last night, but he had a pretty scary injury a couple games back. But the boys showed up, and I'm proud of my team. They played really well last night, and we put them away. And it's something that we can take into momentum next week, playing against some pretty good teams. Girls soccer, a big win last night too. They won 6-0, and they're back in action tomorrow. Catch me and Mr. Floyd will be calling that game when they take on Albany Alexander, really good Albany Alexander team. So our girls got to be ready to go tomorrow. Volleyball played last night, right?
Yes, I believe they won in straight sets.
Yep, straight sets over Waverly, bounce back win for them.
Very, very strong win.
Yeah, they had a rough start to the season, but it seems like they're finally starting to get in a groove and getting some big wins. Obviously, both the soccer and volleyball teams were supposed to play earlier this week, but complications on the South Webster side didn't let that game happen. But the rescheduled dates are out. Make sure you're able to go out and find it. I'm not really sure about volleyball. The boys soccer team will be playing on the 9th. They'll be playing that game on we'll be playing on that game on a Saturday. Cross country last week, you guys.
Cross country last week we were at Eastern, I believe. The girls got second, and the boys got third, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and individually, you got 5th, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you guys had a good week last week. Going into Rio Grande tomorrow, big meet.
Big meet, very big meet. One of our biggest of the year, including the Pickerington meet at the beginning of the season. This may be our second biggest meet. This is where they hold districts, so this is a very big meet. Tennis and golf, both SOC
yes, congratulations to our tennis team and our golf team. They come away with some SOC championships. Really good performances out of both of them. The tennis team is, like every year, they've won the SOC the last couple of years. Singles players like Maria Nolan and Isabella Hamilton and Serena Kataria, they played really well. The doubles teams have come together and they've played awesome this year. And even though they drop a game here and there, they've won every match that they've played, and it's been an awesome showing for them this year. The golf team, they've gone out under the direction of Mr. Bowl, and they've really, losing their best player in Trevin Malt last year, a lot of people had questions about them, but They proved everyone wrong without won another SFC title, so congratulations to both of them.
The more the merrier.
The more the merrier. But yes, the football team last week obviously lost to Jackson. Freshman football team got a big win last night. I want to mention that as well. But tonight, Wheelersburg, they'll be going to play against Minford, and a big part of that game will be Braxton Salmons. We'll learn more about that coming up next when we head down to the football field, and we talk with Braxton a little bit about the importance of special teams. As we saw last week, he nearly won the game for us.
Nearly, yes. I guess we'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
Welcome to Wheelersburg High School, where we have established a standard of excellence for our students and staff. Whether it's on the field or in the classroom, Wheelersburg finds a way to set ourselves apart.
What makes us different is the commitment to excellence and the high standards that we set for our students and for our student athletes as well.
The Wheelersburg community is absolutely amazing. The support, every sport, everybody's always out there cheering you on, wanting the best for you and everything that you do, and that's huge.
Wheelersburg High School, where excellence is the expectation.
Well, welcome down here to Ed Miller Stadium. Braxton, appreciate you coming out, joining us this week.
Having me.
Obviously last week, you guys had a tough loss, but you had a couple highlights yourself. Your first punt, even though it didn't get down, it was a pretty good long punt. You got it down inside where you wanted it. And as far as the third facet of the game, it kind of revolves through you and two of your friends that you've been going at it with for 3 years, Hunter Thomas and Casey Dorr. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of each little facet, talk a little bit about the importance that they've played and kind of getting you to where you are now as third-year starter.
Well, I mean, it definitely makes everything a lot easier having the same two guys for 6 years now. I mean, we just kind of know what everybody's doing. We a lot of trust in each other, a lot of chemistry built. Like, I know that Hunter's going to do his job and Casey will do his, and it'll all work out clean. Very rarely do we have mishaps between us three, and really it's a lot of fun having the same two other guys and having to switch and rebuild the relationship between two other people, so it's definitely helped a lot.
So this is kind of where it all starts for every game back here, 40-yard line. A lot of the times what I've seen your goal is it's either been kicking it 10 yards, trying to get the football back, or putting it in the back of the end zone. And how important, I know Coach Woodward preaches it to you, how important is getting that touchback to make sure you know where the other team's starting their drives?
The touchback is definitely a goal that we have every time the kickoff team steps on the field. I mean, it makes everything so much easier. Obviously, it guarantees no crazy things that can happen, no returns, no players getting hurt. Getting that consistent was definitely a goal that we had in mind before the season started, and it sets up things like the little onside kicks and stuff, because teams will get so used to just kicking it out of the end zone and then catch them on their heels. So it's definitely helped us, and it just secures a lot of safety for sure.
Yeah, like you said with the onside kick against against Russell.
Yeah.
You guys had the onside kick where you kind of just walked it out there with you. And back a couple years ago, your first year kicking against Green Up, pulled a little Pat McAfee trick where you recovered your own onside kick. If we have that saved, we'll go ahead and play it now for you. But it's something that, like, I've watched you whenever I'm down on the sideline with you guys. I'll be down there tonight, and you're kind of already thinking, you're kind of walking down around the sideline knowing when it's your time to go out. And this is where it starts. This is where you'll either start the second half or start the first half, and you're kind of the tone setter. So also, you have a lot of guys out here who, Casey's out here with you, Hunter, Brock Brumfield. I know Josh Boggs plays a little bit of this, Ethan Glover. How important is the coverage team out here? How much chemistry do you have to know? Like, do they have to have with you knowing where you're going to put the ball?
Well, I think last Thursday is a pretty good example. The first kickoff was a touchback, and then to start the second half, the next two were caught around the 1 or 2 yard line. But, Brock Brumfield made a tackle to stop him on the 20, which is the exact same thing as a touchback, obviously, so that was huge. And on the next return, kept him inside the 30, and that's our goal, is not let a return team get one past the 30. So they've done a huge job to make sure they're always focused in, even though, we're reaching for a touchback. Sometimes that don't happen, and they make sure that they clean up whatever I can't do myself.
Yes. So let's go ahead and talk about the next point of emphasis, which usually it's only going to happen on this end of the field when you guys are going to try to score down there, the punting factor. And obviously, no one likes to punt. It's something that you see with a lot of football teams, but when you have someone like you, it makes it kind of easy. And I know this popped up a lot against the Russell Red Devils and Pikeville Panthers. They gave you a lot of time to boot that football away. And whenever you're given time like that, you're able to place it where you want. Even not against Jackson, you had a couple good ones. How important is it to get them down inside the 20, maybe even inside the 10?
Being able to flip the field and pin teams back is absolutely huge for our defense, especially. It takes a lot of pressure off them to where they're not having to, try not to give up one first down before they're already in scoring range. They can give up 1, 2, 3 first downs, and we'll still be in pretty comfortable position. It definitely helps our offense as well, so they don't have to feel that they need to move the ball. Absolutely get the ball up the field every drive. We can feel safe punting from the 30, 20, or 10, and we'll still give our defense a pretty good shot. So punt team's done great this year. It's definitely been one of our strengths.
Yeah, and I saw last week, you guys kind of had a little bit of miscue. You had a big punt that headed down inside the 10, ball got past one of your guys, and it went into the end zone for the touchback, which even then it was still registered as near a 50-yard punt. But something I noticed, like in the Ironton game, you had a pretty good one with a lot of hang time. Brock Brumfield was able to get down the field, make a pretty good tackle on it. And how much is it you being able to put the ball where you want and also having faith in your coverage team?
Well, they kind of go hand in hand. We obviously have a general area where the ball needs to go. So it's really one of those things where if I put the ball there, the coverage team's going to do their job. So as long as I put the ball and make it as easy as I can on them, get hang time, get it down the field so they have time to get set up and get where they need to be, it definitely works together, and it's done pretty well.
Last thing before you out of here, let's go ahead and talk about the final facet and probably the most important to your game, and it's the place kicking. Last week we saw you line up from that 56-yard field goal first before it got moved up to a 51, and we all know what happened there. But you went out there to take that 56. You've never taken one from that distance in game, and you've never even in practice I see you. It's kind of a stretch for you to take it from there. But you went up with confidence.
It's kind of one of those things we were going to just try, shoot at it. If we don't get it, we don't really lose much because we know as long as the ball goes in the end zone, it's the same rules as the kickoff where they can't return it. So in my head, all I was thinking, we have to kick this ball at least 46 yards to at least get us into overtime. But it was really Casey Dorr that made the big play because we weren't trying to make them jump off sides at all. And he went on 2 and didn't tell anybody and got them to jump off sides, which set up for that 51. So it's kind of just, let's see what we can get out of this. And obviously it went just about as best as it could.
Yes, and Casey, I know, is someone that's been really important to you. You went to a couple kicking camps recently, and Casey goes along with you. He's your holder. He's been your holder since 7th grade, if I'm not mistaken. How important is he and Hunter, being your snapper, to kind of work as a cohesive unit every time you guys go out there, whether it's you're kicking from 18 or you're kicking from 51?
Well, a lot of people, it's definitely overlooked because all everybody sees is the final product is the kick, obviously, but I can't do my job unless Hunter gets the snap and Casey gets a good hold down, and they both were absolutely perfect last week, and they have been all year. So the speed that they get the ball on the tee definitely helps our field goal unit as a whole because the blockers only have to block for less than a second and a half before the ball's kicked. So, and it's definitely very, very consistent. So they both do really good at their job.
Yeah, and I know you've been something that I saw with that 51-yarder, even though you did come up just short. A lot of people have been talking about how you hit the dead center of the crossbar. I mean, you stepped up like it was nothing. And even when you came off on the sideline, it was kind of just an attitude of, I got the ball there, just didn't bounce my way. And, talk a little bit about the mental game as a kicker, because obviously a lot of it is what goes on in between here.
Right before we lined up for 51, and then they called that timeout, try to ice the kicker, obviously. And we go back out there, but the whole time it was just like, at halftime we were kicking 53, 52s just fine. So this is nothing, because it's the same kick as it is a PAT. Every kick's the same. So, I mean, we went up there. I had trust. I told the line that if they do their job, that we're going to do ours in the backfield. So, and they all did their job. And it sucks to come up just short. I mean, obviously, something like that, but that's one you just kind of take the positive out of that. Obviously right down the middle, 6 inches short, but at the same time you got to kind of move past it and just look towards next week.
Yeah, and want to wish you the best of luck tonight going into the rest of SOC play. Appreciate you joining us this week. Braxton Sammons, he's one of our most renowned athletes here, kicking the football for us for the last 3 years, and he's going to finish out hopefully a nice SOC run here for the Pirates. So we're going to move on to the Pick'em Show with our guest, Preacher Ryan Brown. As always, Mr. Eaton, Braxton, appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you back here in a minute. Welcome back for our Week 6 edition of the Pick'em Show. I'm Gavin, back with David. Mr. Eaton, as always, good to see you.
You too, Gav, you too.
And our guest picker this week, Mr. Ryan Brown. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Brown.
I love introductions. Thank you.
So a little bit about last week. Mr. Eaton, good week. I'll shake your hand.
Thank you.
I'll shake your hand. Good week.
Worked hard for that. A lot of research went into that. No COPs, but a lot of research went into that.
12-1 week for Mr. Eaton. David had a 9-4 week.
I'm proud of that.
Yeah, good.
Should be.
Better than
This is one of my best records. I'm proud of that.
rebound from the 500. I went 9-3, and our guest picker, Mr. Floyd, went 7-6. He had his tough one in his guest picker week, but looks you maybe want to
This is the pickup week. I have envisioned this will be 100% correct or 100% wrong. But either way, I'm fully committed.
Or 80 or 70.
Yeah, somewhere in there. But I'm not going 7-6.
Yeah.
So we're good to go.
So far, just slightly, our guest picker's still ahead of you. 64% correct predictions. You're sitting at 63.3. I'm at 63 flat, and David's down at 56. So.
I'll be honest with you, I'm like Mrs. Craig. Like, I don't want to round up.
No.
I remember I got a 92.7 in her calculus class, which would, I thought, hey, she's going to bump it up. I'm going to get an A-. Nope. Got a B+. She said,
B+.
you want to get an A-, you need a 93.
Welcome to organic chemistry in college.
So I'm 0.7% behind, and I do not take that lightly, Mr. Brown.
All right, I'm going to do my part today.
All right, let's get into it. First, we got Athens heading to Logan, and even though high division matchup, it's not looking like we're going to see much of a battle here. Athens sitting 1-4, Logan sitting 0-4. David, I'm going to give it to you first. Who you got?
Just on the fact that Logan's yet to win a game this season, I got to go Athens.
You go Athens, the D3 school, beating the D2.
For me, it's going to be a battle of facilities. Logan has some awesome indoor facilities. They've got some resources. When you're hungry at 0-4, I think they come out. I'll go with Logan over Athens.
It's going to make this simple on you, Gavin. Logan by 6.
Oh.
Logan by 6. All right. Yeah, I'm going to go with Logan. I think this far into the season, 0-4, I think they pick up their first win of the year. It's hard to see a team like Logan going winless. They played some really good teams like Western Brown and Jackson. I think they pick up their first win this week. Next, we got Chillicothe heading to Miami Trace. This is looking like one of the best games of the week, in a week where everybody's starting to open their conference play. Mr. Eaton, I'll give you this one. Who comes out on top here?
Well, it's I guess it just depends on which Miami Trace team shows up. You know, sometimes they show up and they've blown the waters off people, and then the other time they basically went to the movies, had popcorn and a ribeye steak. So whatever.
I'm going with it if they go to the Miami Steakhouse.
You know, Art Schleister played quarterback there. He was a great quarterback, bad gambler. Those of you that know the research. I'm going to go with and I think it's at Miami Trace.
Yes.
And they have a really cool facility.
See if we're going to battle facilities.
So I'm going to go Miami Trace. Panthers by just a little.
You can take this next one.
Then I'll go Chillicothe. We've seen Chillicothe, and I thought they played tough. They've got a lot of tools. They got a lot of pieces and resources, and I'm going to go Chillicothe. Rankings at this point in the season may not mean a whole lot, but they played us hard. You know, we had a good game with them, but at the same time, I think they've got a lot of pieces they can win a game.
I'm going to go with Miami Trace. Now, you picked against me the first round.
Yeah, I know.
So I get my chance. I just think Miami Trace is going to come out with this one if they bring the right Miami Trace team.
I'm going to go with Chillicothe. They scraped by against Logan last week, 2-point win. I feel like they're going to build off that momentum with a win over a Division II opponent. They're going to come in and they're going to show them who they really are, opening their conference play against Miami Trace. So I'm going to go Chillicothe. Not by a lot, but maybe by 10. So next we got Colgrove heading to the 4-1 Portsmouth Trojans. Portsmouth nearly pulled off a huge upset last week heading into Waverly, only losing by 1. Last second drive by Waverly put them away.
And 2-point conversion.
And a 2-point conversion in a week where it didn't seem like it was a very good week to go for 2 for a lot of teams. So
worked for Waverly, though.
Worked for Waverly. Mr. Brown, I'll give this one to you first.
I pastor a church in Portsmouth. I'm going with my Portsmouth peeps. The battle of facilities. Portsmouth wins. They've got a beautiful place down there. So, hey, now don't make fun of me. I've got, as David said earlier, an algorithm.
Yes.
All right? But no, I think Portsmouth, you know, when you catch Portsmouth on the right year, they're usually a very talented team. And so I say Portsmouth comes through with the win.
Do you notice the similarities in the genetics? He focuses on what?
Cross-country courses.
And you focus on facility. I'm noticing a trend here in the Brown family, so yeah. I'm noticing it. All right, so you're going with Portsmouth.
I'm going with Portsmouth.
Okay. Portsmouth does not have a cross-country course. However, not so fast, my friend.
Yes.
I will go with Portsmouth. I think if you hold teams like Waverly and Ironton that close, yes, you can't come in unprepared.
By the way, Earl Thomas Conley Park is their cross-country course, right?
West side.
Well, that's West Side.
Well, okay, but I think Portsmouth uses it as well. No-brainer for me. I have not been on the Portsmouth bandwagon, and I've said that on here. I just didn't know that they were good enough. Well, last week they proved they're good enough. So I'm going to go with the Portsmouth Trojans. I know that Colgrove's 3-1 or something. I actually think Portsmouth not only wins, but I think they win big.
Yeah, Portsmouth, I think last week was the prove-it week. I mean, 4-0, they'd beaten a couple teams that were average to below average, and then last week they played a really good Waverly team, played them close the whole way through. They led most of the game. I don't think Waverly led until that last score. So I think Portsmouth proved it. They earned that number 4 ranking, D5, Region 19. I think they win big, and they're opening their conference play against them. So next up, we got Jackson heading to Hillsboro. I'll take this one first, and I mean, feels kind of obvious. I think Jackson showed that they were able to get the ball moving on offense, especially late in that Wheelersburg game. And even though they beat us last week, I'm going to be going with Jackson in this one, heading to Hillsboro.
They're just better, period. They're going to win. I know Hillsboro's 3-2, but Jackson's better.
I think when we saw them, we saw beyond talent. I think we saw resourcefulness. I mean, they were winners. They wanted to stay. They stayed with us. And you can play with Wheelersburg any given year. You are going to be a strong football team. And even though we did come off a loss, you show that kind of fortitude, I think you win a lot of games. I go to Jackson.
I think we see Jackson again. They were able to stop the Pirate run game last week. I mean, and that takes a lot of skill and a lot of effort.
All right, so we got Jackson sweeping. So let's head down to a lower division matchup. We got Northwest taking on D7 Notre Dame. Notre Dame is undefeated, number 2 in Division 7, Region 28. Do you feel like that ranking matters much going into a game against Northwest?
Of course. I mean, they've earned it. They've earned it. So I think, from a coaching standpoint, from a player standpoint, they've earned it. So I think the Irish are going to put in their lucky charms and they're going to win. So I'm going to go with the Irish.
I didn't know we could do accents.
The Golden Dome.
Yeah. If I'm going next, I'm going to go with Northwest. I think that D2 or 5-0. That's a good record. That's strong. But when you get down to Northwest, I know they've got a lot of athletes and they're going to have a little more depth. And to get 4 quarters of football, that depth really pays off. I go Northwest.
This is a pick'em game for me, just because I know.
It comes down to the cross country.
No, not quite, not quite.
If we go that direction.
If we go that direction,
Yeah,
Northwest
wins.
Northwest wins because they have a cross country course.
And they're really good.
And they're good. But I've got to go a different direction. This is such a tight game for me personally. I think I've got to go outside the box on this. I've recently watched a few movies that involve the Catholic Church, so I've got to go with Notre Dame.
All right. Gotta say, I mean, I gotta say
Last of the Mohicans, so maybe that's why I went with the Mohawk. I don't know.
Correct.
I mean, I want to say it's the weirdest way I've seen someone get picked, but it's just not. So, I'm actually going to go with Pastor Brown on this one. I think Northwest wins. Bigger school, more depth. I think they go into Spartan Stadium tonight and steal one away from the Titans. I feel like this is a game where they're coming off a bad loss last week. They're going to have a rebound week against a smaller team, and they're going to really show what they're all about heading into their conference SOC 1 play. Next up, we got Mr. Eaton's favorite team, the Piketon Red Streaks, number 1 in Division 5, Region 19. I don't think I've ever seen Piketon top the rankings here.
Well, okay, they're number 1, but they're not number 1. Like, there are other teams, Ironton, Ridgewood, I would even say us. We are better than Piketon, I would say. However, it doesn't take away from them being 5-0, like I said before. This Paint Valley game, I mean, this one's a tough one for me. I know I've picked Piketon 5 weeks in a row. I know they're 5-0. But ladies and gentlemen,
Oh no!
God.
Oh no!
I am highly considering taking the Bearcats, but I can't go against my Red Streaks.
Okay.
I'm going Red Streaks in a tight one. If this was at Paint Valley, I can guarantee you one thing: I'd pick Paint Valley, but it's not. It's not. So that 8-minute drive from Paint Valley to Piketon is the difference maker.
Man.
Yikes.
So that was the old
close
bait and
one.
switch.
That was a close
Bait
one.
and
It
switch.
was good. It was good. Thank you. I worked on that all week.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I was looking at the Piketon game, and I've got to say, I grew up with the head coach at Piketon, Tyler Gullion, and was following some of the stats with their quarterback. When you have an elite talent, which what he seems
Is
to
that
be.
his boy?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he seems to be an elite talent.
He is.
And that's the kid that separates you from the players where they can do something special at any given time. And I'm going to go with Piketon until they're proven wrong. I'm going with Piketon.
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 All the way.
Me and David don't even think about it. I mean, they've not done us wrong for 5 straight weeks, so I pick against them.
Understood.
All right, next one we got Unioto heading to Adena. Adena 1-4. Unioto a tough 1-3. I'll say that. Their 3 losses came against some really good teams. So, David, I'm going to throw this one to you. Who you got?
And on that note, I'm going to have to go Unioto.
Unioto.
Look,
I
as a
mean,
matter of fact, he doesn't need anything else. He's
true.
boom.
Cash.
All right.
I'm going to go with Unioto because of the cross-country course.
Okay.
And I've walked around their football field so many times. No, Unioto, they've got athletes. They've got some depth. That record, I don't think, tells a story on Unioto.
And here's where I correct you guys. Those that live in Unioto pronounce it Unioto. Believe it or not, there's not an N, but they say Unioto. So I'm going to go with the Shermans. Because they have a tank in front of their high school.
You always win when you have a
Like,
tank.
if you have a tank,
I can see.
I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm comparing mascots, the Warriors to the tanks. I mean, I appreciate the Warriors.
Bow and arrow can really go a long way. It worked for centuries.
Not with a tank.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Unioto. I mean, last time I saw them, they scraped by with the win against Huntington, but I think they're a better team than that, and I think they'll come in, they'll beat an Adena team that the last time I saw anything about them, it was whenever Coach Gilliland was blowing the doors off them. So I'm going to go with Unioto. Next one, Mr. Eaton threw this one in just for you.
Oh, thank you.
Washington Courthouse heading to 4-0 McLean. So I'll throw this one to you first. Who you got?
Well, let me first ask my twin brother, Brett, a question. Oh, you got a guest speaker.
Oh, okay.
Oh, going with the shades.
Hi, I'm Brett.
I am Mr. Eaton's brother, and looking at the calculations and the algorithms from David Brown and some other folks, and I had to take Brent out of this equation because he does not want to have backlash on this. So I am going to go with the Washington Courthouse Blue Lions. Because he doesn't want to choose the Washington Courthouse Blue Lions.
Hey guys, I'm back. Thank you. I don't know what Brett said, but I agree with Brett.
Oh,
He said some very nice things.
Cool.
yeah.
Very nice things.
Anyway,
Kind of
Mr.
a
Brown.
nerd, but I love him.
All right, Mr. Brown, who you got?
I unfortunately do not have a twin. David's the closest thing I have. so I don't have anybody to get out to, but I'm going to go with McLean, and because we get to go run track there all the time, been up there around their facilities, and I know they've got athletes, and athletes tell the story, and we'll go with McLean.
On a different note, I think I'm going to go with McLean just because they pulled off the upset. Was it a week ago?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago,
East
yeah.
Clinton.
Against East Clinton. I just don't know how they did it, and I think they're going to do it again.
Yeah, that one was really impressive for me. I think McLean proved something that week, in a week where a lot of teams proved something, which Fairland, they had proved something big that week against Ironton, but we didn't get to pick their game this week. Their game against Guy Academy got canceled. Yeah, I'm going to go with McLean. I think they go in, beat Washington Courthouse. Home game, they're going to open up their conference play with a win. All right, so let's head.
Brett was the only one that picked opposite McLean?
Yep.
That's the reason he doesn't get Christmas presents.
Yeah. I'll make sure to slash his tires, McLean Tire fans.
All right, let's head into some college football. We got the West Virginia Mountaineers taking on number 4 Oklahoma. David, I know you're looking for an easy game every week, so I'll give you this one. Spread is at 17 points in favor of the Sooners.
Yeah, Sooners.
Sooners take the
Oklahoma.
win. All right.
It's easy. Oklahoma is a big-time football team. They win.
Just because it's an easy choice, obviously it's Oklahoma. I just want to go ahead and give a shout out to myself that when I was in college, I went to do relief tornado work in downtown Norman 20-some years ago, and was on campus, and their football stadium is really cool. So, Oklahoma. Oh, by the way, the biggest hill in Oklahoma is basically a trash. What am I trying to say?
A trash pile?
Yeah,
A
that's
dump-
it.
dump?
It's pretty much a dump. The rest of it is straight line fields.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. It's like looking at the ocean.
So
Only wheat.
is it called Mount Trashmore?
It is. It's Mount Trashmore. Oklahoma.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Oklahoma, but close. I think West Virginia plays them close, but I think Oklahoma still wins because they've had some games that have been closer than they'd like. So I think West Virginia keeps it close for 3 quarters. Oklahoma will start pulling away and start getting some of those subs in later on. So let's move on to our game of the week. Number 12, Notre Dame, heading to number 18, Wisconsin. David Brown, you go first.
I think Notre Dame's the favorite, just a heads up.
Notre Dame is the favorite. and they're a proven D1 team that has been in the national championship several times.
And you've been watching this Catholic.
And I've been watching the Catholic movie, so I wasn't going to go on that, but I am going to go with Notre Dame.
All right.
I think Wisconsin is always underrated. Every year they seem underrated.
Yep.
They always give Ohio State a great game. They always give the Big Ten a great game. But even considering that, I'm going to call a close win for Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame, they're going to stay in that top 5, top 8 kind of space throughout the season. And I think Notre Dame wins.
Mm-hmm.
Wisconsin's second-string quarterback transferred to Notre Dame and is now the starting quarterback.
Jack Cohn.
So obviously, if he's second string at Notre Dame or at Wisconsin, the first string at Notre Dame, plus it's at Wisconsin, right?
Yes.
And if you're wrong, then I'm gonna get upset.
It is at Wisconsin.
All right. So they're gonna have that jump around House of Pain stuff,
Yep.
going. And I am saying Wisconsin. I actually think Wisconsin wins, and their defense takes over, and their run game takes over.
So you don't think this is a Dwayne Haskins, Joe Burrow kind of thing?
No, and I think in the words of Willie Nelson, whiskey around, hang my man. So I'm going Wisconsin. Whiskey.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go with Wisconsin too. Even though I really like that Notre Dame team.
Plus you like cheese, right?
Yes, I love cheese.
And that's important.
I'm gonna go with Wisconsin. I really like their team, but I do like the Notre Dame team. I think they have a great run game. Michael Mayer, baby Gronk out there. He's really good at the tight end position, but Notre Dame's had struggled to put away games this year. They had a scare week 1 with Florida State, and they've just been surviving thus far. I think if there's a team that's going to get them, it's going to be Wisconsin. So I'm going to go with Wisconsin this week.
Favorite kind of cheese? Go.
American.
Sharp cheddar.
Sharp cheddar.
Right.
It's pretty good.
What's your favorite kind of cheese?
You'll get out Munster.
I love white sharp cheddar.
White.
Okay.
Ah.
Little Vermont.
Yeah.
All right. Last college game of the week, Mr. Eaton. This is an easy one for you. Kentucky heading to South Carolina. Just go ahead.
So Kentucky's, I guess their letters in their school is UCK.
So that's your reasoning?
No, I will never pick UCK.
Duke
ever.
Duke
I think UCK is ucky, and I'm sorry, Tim Glockner. I know your child goes to the University of UCK, but I am going with South Carolina.
The University of Kentucky?
Yes.
The University of
Oh, the University of the University. You're right, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not going with UCK.
All right. David?
I'm going to go with UCK. Yeah, I'm going to go with Kentucky.
I'm going to go in memory of Steve Spurrier back in the old days.
Oh, yeah.
The little jaunt at South Carolina. I think South Carolina wins.
I think Will Levis looked really good week 1 in his Kentucky debut. They struggled last week against Chattanooga. I feel like that was a game that they should have went in, and the starters should have been off the field after the first half, and they just didn't show that. They didn't show that they were coming in and playing everyone like they're playing Alabama. In the SEC, you can't do that. I think South Carolina, they're going to come in and they're going to shock some people. They're going to have a big week before they play Georgia. I think South Carolina wins. So,
Not
okay. Sorry, Mom. All right. Let's head into some SOC2. First, we got Oak Hill heading to Valley tonight. Valley had some big wins this year. I mean, 2 of them have come against Northwest, so I don't know if you've ever heard that halfway through the season. Yeah. But, Mr. Brown, we'll give this one over to you.
I've seen Oak Hill and Valley play. I've seen them on the junior high level. So I know they've got some strength coming up. I just don't know if they have the strength at the end, some of those older kids. It's kind of a toss-up. I'm going to go with Valley just on a record basis, but I would not be surprised if Oak Hill doesn't pull this out, especially if they start to play some of those freshmen, sophomores that we've seen in action in the last few years.
I picked against Oak Hill, or I picked for Oak Hill a couple weeks ago. Didn't turn out well. So I'm going to give them a second chance. I'm going to go with Oak Hill this week.
Showing grace and mercy. Valley.
Oh, all right. I know Valley's been struggling a little bit. They come off a big win last week against Northwest when they had time to game plan for them, but I think Oak Hill pulls away with a win this week. Sorry, Dad. I'm going to go with Oak Hill. I think they win.
Sorry, Mom.
Yes, Mom.
Person left is Grandma or...
You're probably not going to eat tonight, are you?
I'll just have to go get something myself. But, yeah, I think Oak Hill comes away with a win here. Valley, they lost a few players in the offseason due to transfers, and they lost a couple good seniors. I think they're going to open up their conference play here. And even though they're at home, I feel like Oak Hill gets them. But it will be close. It absolutely will be close. Next, we got West heading to Waverly. Waverly got a huge scare last week. You think that wakes the program up?
Yeah, and I think West has won 3 in a row, but I think this is where their winning streak stops. I think the Tigers win, but I do think it's going to be closer than the experts think. I actually think that this game will not be a blowout, but I think in the fourth quarter, Waverly's talent will take over.
As we go along, I think if we watch this game a year from now, 2 years from now, I think West has got all kinds of talent coming up. I do think Waverly will outpace them. And I think if you survive a hard win, you are so much stronger going into the next game. I say Waverly wins.
Waverly.
Yeah, I think Waverly wins this game. They're coming off a close game last week. I think they win. Thankfully, I played Waverly last night, and I don't have to go off my method of if I play them in a few days, I can't pick them. So I'm going to go with Waverly. I just think they're the better team. No disrespect to West. It's just Waverly, bigger school, tough team to play, especially when you're going to their place. All right, I'm going to take a step back because I'll be there on the sideline tonight giving updates. David, I'll throw it over to you. Wheelersburg heading to Minford. Who you got?
I've watched a few Minford highlights and clips and whatnot from their past games.
I thought you were going to say some Minford Catholic. It's like, where's he going with
They travel to St. Peter's, I think.
So, I mean, I've seen them play a little bit, and I hate to do this because my mom's from Minford, and my grandma's from Minford, and
But you're not.
But I'm not, and I've got to go Burg all the way. I think Burg comes away easy. Minford's going to come out swinging in the first half of the second quarter, but after that, I think it's pretty well put away.
Nobody gives Wheelersburg a tougher game in the first quarter because Minford wants to beat Wheelersburg so bad. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't go in halftime 14-14, but eventually it comes off. I think Wheelersburg wins 28-14 or 35, but they get a convincing win.
Look, we've lost a few games here lately, and I think it's just time to switch it up. So, I'm going to go ahead and get my whistle out. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Woodward, it's going to be as cool as the other side of the pillow. Wheelersburg
In fuego.
with 17-point win, and if I'm wrong, then say I'm wrong. But I'm going to go with Wheelersburg.
So Wheelersburg is sweeping over here. That's going to do it for us this week. Mr. Brown, I appreciate you joining us.
My
Mr. Eden,
pleasure.
as always. Braxton, who we had on earlier. Wheelersburg heading to Minford tonight. Make sure you get out and watch them. Head down 823, or if you still like taking the back way, you can take the back way.
Stop at the airport, got a great sandwich there the other day.
Yes, absolutely.
So good.
Make sure you get out and support the boys tonight as they're looking to open up SOC2 with a win. I've been Gavin.
I'm David Brown.
Ryan Brown.
Mr. Eaton.
Go Bird.
Go Bird.